Have you ever walked past your local library and wondered what secrets it holds? I mean, beyond the dusty shelves and overdue book finds. On Hollow Street, the library isn't just a place for quiet reading. It's a keeper of time itself, a silent witness to every joy, every sorrow, and every chilling secret the street has ever known. Welcome back to Hollow Street. Tonight, we're descending into the one place even the bravest locals fear to tread, the library basement. It's said that this basement isn't filled with forgotten books or old newspapers. Instead, it contains a living, breathing record of Hollow Street. Every event, big or small, is etched into its very essence. But this archive isn't for the faint of heart. Legend has it that anyone who dares to step across its threshold is confronted not with the past, but with their own future. And these aren't happy, lottery-winning fortunes. They are prophecies, dark and disturbing glimpses of what's to come. Our story tonight begins with Eleanor Vance, the town's new librarian. Young, bright, and a firm believer in logic, she dismissed the local whispers as folklore, silly stories to scare children. The basement, to her, was just a cluttered storage space in desperate need of organizing. She'd heard the tales, of course. Old Mr. Abernathy, the previous librarian, had warned her with a tremor in his voice. Some doors are best left unopened, my dear. But Eleanor, ever the pragmatist, just smiled and took the key. One rainy Tuesday, a persistent leak from the ceiling forced her hand. With a sigh of frustration and a heavy flashlight, Eleanor unlocked the heavy oak door to the basement. A wave of musty, cold air, thick with the scent of old paper and something else, something metallic and unnerving, washed over her. The single bulb flickered weakly, casting long, dancing shadows that seemed to writhe and twist in the corners of her eyes. The room was vast, far larger than the library's blueprint suggested, lined with endless, towering shelves that seemed to groan under an invisible weight. As her eyes adjusted, she realized the shelves weren't holding books. They were filled with moments. That's the only way to describe it. In one corner, she saw a faint, shimmering image of a child's birthday party from the 1950s, laughter echoing softly, yet tinged with a profound sadness. Further down, she saw the construction of the old clock tower, the ghostly figures of workers moving in a silent, repeating loop. It was a museum of memories, a tapestry of every life that had ever touched Hollow Street. It was overwhelming, beautiful, and deeply, deeply unsettling. Drawn by an unseen force, Eleanor walked deeper into the labyrinth of shelves. That's when she saw it, a small, clear space on a shelf at eye level. As she approached, an image began to form in the dust-filled air. It was her. An older version of her, with lines of worrying etched around her eyes and silver streaks in her hair. This future Eleanor was standing right here, in this very basement, her face a mask of pure terror as she stared at something just beyond the shimmering frame. Eleanor felt a cold dread snake up her spine. What could possibly frighten her future self so much? She tried to rationalize it, a trick of the light, a hallucination brought on by the strange atmosphere. But the vision was too real, too detailed. She could see the frayed cuff of her future self's sweater, the exact way her hand trembled as she raised it to her mouth. Curiosity warred with a primal instinct to flee. What was her future self looking at? Compelled by a need to understand, Eleanor took another step forward, trying to peer past the image of herself. The air grew colder, and a low hum vibrated through the floor. The prophecy shifted. Now, she saw her own hand, aged and trembling, reaching out to a name carved into a dusty shelf. The name was Thomas, her brother's name. Thomas, who had left Hollow Street years ago and never looked back. In the vision, her fingers traced the letters of his name, and as they did, the entire shelf crumbled into dust, and a gut-wrenching scream, her own scream, echoed in the silent basement. The prophecy wasn't just a warning, it was a scene of devastating loss. Panic seized her. This wasn't a funhouse mirror. It was a sentence. She stumbled backward, her flashlight clattering to the floor and rolling away into the darkness. Plunged into near total blackness, the faint, ghostly images on the shelves seemed to press in on her, their silent stories now feeling like threats. Whispers swirled around her, fragments of conversations from decades past, all speaking of loss, regret, and choices that could never be undone. The basement knew her deepest fear, losing the last family she had. Eleanor scrambled for the door, her heart hammering against her ribs. She didn't want to know anymore. The allure of the future was a siren's call, promising knowledge but delivering only despair. She fumbled for the doorknob, her breath catching in her throat as her hand closed around the cold metal. With a final, desperate heave, she threw the door open and tumbled back into the warm, familiar light of the library, slamming the heavy oak door shut behind her. She locked it, then slid to the floor, shaking uncontrollably. She never went back down there. The leak was eventually fixed by a contractor who, strangely, couldn't seem to find the basement door, mentioning only a solid brick wall where it should have been. Eleanor never told anyone what she saw, but the knowledge changed her. She called her brother that very night, and for the first time in years, they talked for hours, healing a rift she hadn't realized was so deep. The prophecy, as terrifying as it was, had given her a choice. The library basement doesn't just show you a fixed, unavoidable fate. It shows you a possibility, a dark path you might walk. It gives you a warning. What you do with that warning, well, that's up to you. And on Hollow Street, that's the most terrifying choice of all. Thank you for joining us in the shadows once again. If you enjoy these journeys into the unsettling corners of Hollow Street, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It helps us keep the streetlights on and uncover more stories. Until next time, be careful which doors you open. You never know what future might be waiting for you on the other side.